Hey everyone, I'm Ashwath and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'll be talking about a term you must have heard about. It's called blockchain. And this video will be part of a new series I've created called What Is. And in this series, I'll be talking about terms just like blockchain that you must have heard about, such as Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, etc. And this series will deal with explaining briefly what they are. So, let's get into the video, demystifying blockchain. So let's talk about the first point. What is blockchain? So blockchain was introduced when Bitcoin was introduced. It was a new type of database which was revolutionary. So as the name suggests, the blockchain is a chain of blocks. And each of these blocks are data. And this data is encrypted. What does this encrypted data mean? It means that the data in that block is anonymous, so the identity of that person is anonymous as well. Such as a block of data could be owned by a company, a person, or anybody else. So this anonymity basically ensures the privacy and security of the person who handles or owns that block. So let's take an example of a normal transaction. Let's say you're sending $5 from yourself to a friend. You know this transaction because you get a notification about it and everything else. But each transaction we know has to be validated. So how do banks validate this transaction? They validate it through the use of a third party who they pay to validate that these two accounts are real and that the money is not too big, that it could be a fraud, etc. So that's essentially how a bank's transaction would work. But now let's talk about the blockchain and how its transaction would work. Let's take an example again of that $5 which you were sending. That would be the exact same. You would send $5 from your account to the other person's account through the ID numbers. But in blockchain, there is one big difference. In a blockchain, there is no third party verifying this transaction. No one is getting paid to validate it. Instead, people called miners, M-I-N-E-R-S, are called upon to validate it. So how do they validate this transaction? So what happens is when you send out $5 across in a blockchain network, a math problem is created which has to be solved. Now you may wonder, math problem, that's too easy. But the thing is, there's actually much more involved in a math problem. There are two things. One, it can only be solved by trial and error. And two, it has a very low probability of being solved. This requires a lot of computer resources because you have to do a lot of test runs or epochs, and they also have to find a correct solution. Now you may ask, a bank giving money to a third party is a fair form of payment. But how do these miners get paid for validating this transaction? They get something called bitcoins. And as we know today, bitcoins are very highly valued, so it serves as a great reward for them. So once this transaction gets validated, i.e. the math problem gets solved, this solution to the question is put both on the sender and receiver's ledgers, along with the transaction. So you may logically ask, what does this mean? What it means is that if, let's say, the receiver did not want this and he's trying to remove it so that no one notices it, and removes the transaction by some way, he can't get away with it for the simple reason that the other one, the sender, already has that data in themselves, in their own block. So that means that the nodes would automatically figure out there's an issue and call an error, and the person trying to do this would be caught and sent to jail probably, if it's a much larger sum obviously. So this effectively creates a very secure environment where no one can really tamper with data very easily. But we know there are hackers around, like even banks get hacked regularly and every other entity. So how do blockchains deal with this? One is the anonymity of the blocks of data. So the hacker does not know exactly which block to target. And two, the nodes always update themselves with reference points. So even if one gets tampered, the other nodes automatically update it, and if the data is missing, automatically updates it and calls an error. So how the hacker actually control this network? That hacker would actually require 51%. That's a mind-boggling percentage of the blockchain network. That's because at that particular level of percentage owned, he could cause mass destruction to the overall network by preventing transactions and eventually come to the block which the hacker transmitted data to. But the thing is, hacking gets noticed as well, and getting 51% is no easy job. So that makes blockchain very secure. Now, coming to the end of this video, I just want to tell you that blockchain is a disruptive technology, and I felt you should know what it is because it's disruptive. It can exist anywhere where data security is essential, such as police records, financial records, health records, and even in many other applications. Like even is discovering applications of blockchain. So this is all for this video. I hope you found it to be informational. Over here, right where my face is or around it, you'll see a subscribe icon. Over there, you can subscribe to my channel to be notified of more of these uploads and all my other uploads. Over here, you will see my latest upload. And over here, you will see a YouTube video that YouTube recommends for you. So once again, I hope you enjoyed watching this video and see you in the next one.